support them, they returned to work soon afterward. The infant and maternal mortality rate for working women was more than double that of middle-class women because of the harsh conditions. Although British and American feminists wanted to support working mothers through non-state charities, Braun proposed that funds for the maternity insurance be raised through a progressive income tax. The German government could then pay a woman's wages for a fixed period before and after the birth of her child. Everyone would contribute to a special pot of money that new mothers could draw on, much like unemployment insurance or a state pension. Braun asserted that since society benefited from children, it should help bear the costs of raising them. Children are future soldiers, workers, and taxpayers. They are a benefit to all, not just to the parents who bring them into the world. And some parents of teenagers might argue that they are more of a benefit to society than they are to their parents. This is especially true in ethnically homogeneous states, where societies place a premium on preserving a particular national identity. But Braun's proposal was expensive. It required new taxes and would redistribute wealth to the working classes, an idea that many middle-class men and women opposed. Braun's ideas also faced initial opposition from the left. Because Braun was a reformer and believed that her maternity scheme could be implemented under capitalism, more radical German socialists like Clara Zetkin initially rejected her ideas, claiming they could only be realized under a socialist economy. Braun also favored communal living arrangements, communes, over state-funded nurseries and kindergartens, whereas Zetkin believed that housework and childcare should be socialized. Nonetheless, Braun's proposals, in watered-down form at least, were passed into law as early as 1899. And by the Second International Conference of Socialist Women in 1910, Braun's ideas were incorporated into the official socialist platform with the support of Clara Zetkin and the Russian Alexandra Kollontai. The fourth point on the 1910 socialist platform laid the foundation for all subsequent socialist policies regarding state responsibilities toward women workers. Under the title Social Protection and Provision for Motherhood and Infants, the women of the Second International demanded an 8-hour working day. They proposed that pregnant women stop working, without previous notice, for 8 weeks prior to the expected delivery date, and that women be granted a paid motherhood insurance of 8 weeks if the child lived, which could be extended to 13 weeks if the mother was willing and able to nurse the infant. Women would get a 6-week leave for stillborn children, and all working women would enjoy these benefits, including agricultural labourers, home workers, and maidservants. These policies would be paid for by the permanent establishment of a special maternity fund out of tax revenues. 7 years later, Kollontai attempted to implement some of these policies in the Soviet Union after the Bolshevik Revolution. Instead of burdening individual women with household chores and childcare in addition to their industrial labour, the young Soviet state proposed to build kindergartens, creches, children's homes, and public cafeterias and laundries. By 1919, the 8th Congress of the Communist Party handed Kollontai a mandate to expand her work for Soviet women, and she secured state commitments to expend the funds necessary to build a wide network of social services. The year 1919 also saw the creation of an organization called the Zhenotdel, the Women's Section, which would oversee the work of implementing the radical program of social reform that would lead to women's full emancipation. But Soviet enthusiasm for women's emancipation soon evaporated in the face of more pressing demographic, economic, and political concerns. After the country was devastated by the brutal years of the First World War, followed by the Civil War and the horrendous famine of 1921 and 1922, Lenin and the Bolsheviks did not have the funds to support Kollontai's plan. Hundreds of thousands of war orphans roamed the major cities, plaguing residents with petty crime and theft. The state lacked the resources to care for them. Children's homes were overburdened and understaffed. Liberalization of divorce laws meant that fathers abandoned their pregnant wives, and poor enforcement of child support and alimony laws meant that those men who had survived the first